I'm Liana Allison from the Institute of Empathic Leadership, and I wanted to give you a bit of an update on what I see around me, what's current at the moment in the month of June. So many women that I have seen and spoken to have talked about how they feel so overwhelmed. And when I dig further into that, it's the pattern that I see in the energy of this month, which has a lot to do with the interaction between what we believe is vulnerability and what we believe is power. So I wanted to just talk to you about that a little bit, because there's a lot of confusion about what vulnerability is. And the way I see vulnerability is that, let's start with how the general consensus of vulnerability is. It usually involves lots of tears and feelings of fear and really being emotionally unstable. The way I see vulnerability is actually through our ability to connect in with our deeper selves and to actually live, act and be that person, which takes the dropping of our protective layers, hence the word vulnerability. So yes, there will be tears, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming, completely lost in tears. When you getting lost in emotions, that's when the issues turn up, of not being able to move, getting stuck in not isolation, but in just complete stillness, not being able to make decisions, not being able to think clearly, obviously leading into a huge feeling of overwhelm. Now, when we look at the word power, the way I see people looking at that, it's got a lot of force in it, and power actually doesn't have force. Power has a lot of let's call it solid groundedness. It has a lot of self-awareness. It has a lot of self-responsibility. So it's a lot of internal mechanisms that show up externally as we take actions and as we show up in life and how we do life. So when we hit the feeling of overwhelm, a lot of the women I've spoken to recently have said, they're taking the actions and they're building their businesses or they're changing their lives. And so everything's happening in regards to the physical changes that they're making externally. The overwhelm is coming from their inability to connect with the emotional feelings that are following that. All these actions are triggering emotions because we're stepping out of our box. Now, these emotions are the ones that activate thoughts, because for women, thoughts and emotions are hand in hand in our brain. That's how the brain works. If we have a thought, there's usually an emotion attached. If we have an emotion, there's normally a thought attached, whether it's from our history projecting into the future or even in the moment. So the overwhelm can be very much about how we're feeling. So it's in the feeling part of ourselves that we find a solution. That comes down to obviously emotional mastery, self-awareness, self-responsibility, and really owning what's going on in our patterns. And if you don't know how to work with those things, then you ask for help. There's no point in getting stuck in it and going, I'll figure it out, and month after month after month, you're still trying to figure it out. Ask for help. We all need help and support at times. Women have a large amount of trouble generally asking for it, and definitely not asking for it with your family and friends, because they're probably not qualified to stay non-judgmental. If you ask for support with people that you know quite deeply, they normally want to fix you. They want to give you a solution rather than have a non-judgmental reflection and activation from somebody who's actually able to do that. And that's what I do, obviously. So overwhelm is definitely a characteristic of this month, and it's coming from that balance of polarities between power and vulnerability, or what we perceive them to be. So I hope that's helped give you a little bit of an insight into what's going on this month. If you would like to know more about that, I've got a free community webinar coming up. It's on the 3rd of July, and it's the actual webinar is always called Conversations to Activate Your Empathic Leadership, and I hold these on the first Tuesday of each month. So please go to my Facebook page, or sign up on my newsletters, and grab the links and really check in with those. Click going, sign up, do the registration, and get some really in-depth help, because in those webinars is where I actually speak to you and your personal questions one-on-one, whilst giving you a broader picture of the what the theme is for that month. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for listening today.